coming to you live from Gem and Jam in Tucson, Arizona. It's kind of a little bit more of a festival, hippie festival, art festival. It's really kind of a cool experience. This basically, I thought about this concept. There was this concept back in the ancient Roman times where the concept was called bread and circus. So the rulers at the time made sure to give the people bread and circus every now and again, right? Because if they didn't have bread and circus, the people would rise up and revolt. So it begs the question, here we are today, we have events. This is kind of a bread and circus weekend in Phoenix, Arizona, because we have Gem and Jam Festival, we have the Gem shows all throughout Tucson, and we have the Waste Management Open and all sorts of events going on. So it's just one big weekend of entertainment. And there's not much else to do, right? You have to kind of go with what's provided in the realm of societies. This is kind of like the modern day bread and circus. And, not that there's anything wrong with it. Of course, it's a great thing to celebrate art. It's a great thing to celebrate music. It's good to release and let go, but you got to ask yourself, what are you creating with it? What are you going to create with your life? What are you creating with the experience? And then there's always holidays or events or festivals, and that's the bread and circus, right? If you think about the ancient Roman time, the masses at large starting to get restless, and then they would have some sort of a festival or an event, or, of course, back then it was the Colosseum and the gladiators. When you're here, when you're experiencing all of this commerce, all of this art, all of this self-expression, it's a great time to have people coming out, enjoying themselves, expressing themselves, and just experiencing, celebrating life. And it kind of reminds me of like a mini Burning Man in the desert of Tucson, because I've never been to Burning Man, but I'm assuming it's something, there's a lot of elements of Burning Man here. And so a question that came to mind is, where's the line between bread and circus and legitimate entertainment? And the thing that's cool about a festival like Gem and Jam is that you've got up and coming artists. You've got, local artists, people who are truly expressing themselves. You're not dealing with the corporate Hollywood, elites. So I think that's kind of the demarcation line between the bread and circus and legitimate entertainment, which beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So likewise, like the entertainment is in the eye of the beholder. But if you look at corporate media, if you look at like corporate Hollywood entertainment, that's bread and circus. That is distraction. That is like paid narratives. You're talking about big institutions and big elite power brokers that basically put their messaging into movies and music, and they basically set the narrative for what they want the masses to think about. And so in a sense, this is the evolution of our counterculture, right? The counterculture from the 60s and 70s. But, of course, you have to ask your question, who's financing it, right, with anything? What this actually looks like is the breakdown and the revolt against the corporate media, the corporate entertainment system, and, basically that system of mind control in a sense that is Hollywood. Hollywood, for example, is basically just a pure straight line to mind control directly from the elites. And so when you come to an event like this, it's kind of a little bit more, it's more open-ended. You're dealing with, sure, there are some big name performers here, but normally they're not like mainstream Hollywood. And so still looking around, there's like this element of hypnosis going on, right? You're going and you're watching all the lights and the music, and people are being hypnotized into thinking they're having fun. Some people are having fun. Some people maybe not. I don't know. I think it's up to the individual to decide what the experiences that are creating. But what's more important is to understand that, if you cut off the mainstream narratives from Hollywood and from the elites, which obviously we're seeing that whole system has imploded, which I think that's a great thing. But now what's the outcome is that, in a sense, entertainment has become decentralized. So we're seeing the decentralization of entertainment, music, art, culture. And this is where I think the future is headed. It's not something where you have to go sign up, a blood oath to the, to the Hollywood executive to become famous and get your art heard and seen. That's kind of the demarcation line, right? And I'm sure at some point in time, and there probably are some, elitist influences within the rave scene or the EDM culture, but until a time when it becomes blatantly obvious, here we are. So anyways, quite an experience. Gem and Jam is really cool. Of course, never been to Tucson. definitely recommend checking out the Gem Show, because the Gem Show is very interesting. You've got people from all over the world. There's a lot of brokers from Madagascar who come and bring these amazing like crystals and gem pieces, and it's just I think it's very fascinating. So that's Gem and Jam.